Hello and welcome, my dear friend. The moment you found this message, something shifted in the unseen realm. Picture it like a master cinematographer adjusting the lens on the most important scene of your life. The lighting has changed, the focus has sharpened, and you are the protagonist stepping into a narrative that heaven has been directing all along. But before we unveil what is about to unfold, I need you to hear something that perhaps no one has ever said to you directly, and I will not wait until you think you are ready to receive it, because in the deepest part of your spirit, you already are. God is proud of you, not because you followed every rule perfectly, not because you stayed calm when your soul wanted to scream, not even because you kept faith when everything around you conspired to bury it alive. God is proud of you because you kept becoming, even when every voice, every circumstance, every disappointment whispered that it would be so much easier to just stop growing, to just accept less, to just give up on the person you knew you were meant to be. And maybe you didn't always hear that affirmation in the past. Maybe nobody said those words to you when you were younger, when you did the right thing with trembling hands, when you gave away your last reserves of strength, and still didn't receive the recognition you needed. Maybe no one noticed when you quietly chose love in moments when revenge would have made far more noise, when forgiveness would have felt like victory to everyone watching. But heaven did. That is the part I need you to sit with today, like an actor taking a moment to truly inhabit their character's deepest truth. Nothing good you have done has gone unseen. Every act of integrity has been recorded in the eternal archives. You have been walking with a spiritual dignity that doesn't beg for applause, doesn't demand immediate reward, doesn't require validation from an audience that often cannot even see the stage you are performing on. You have been breaking cycles that your ancestors couldn't break, clearing bloodlines of patterns that have repeated for generations, holding peace in spaces where anger was the only language anyone knew how to speak. You have made healing decisions without any guarantee of reward, without any promise that your sacrifice would be acknowledged or your pain would be understood. And every time you did, you built something eternal. The camera of heaven has been rolling this entire time, capturing every frame of your journey. The raw footage might look chaotic to you, filled with scenes that seemed out of place, dialogue that felt improvised, plot twists that made no sense in the moment. But the divine editor has been crafting something magnificent from material that felt like outtakes to you. You see, God isn't impressed by appearances. You don't win divine favor by performing your pain correctly, by suffering silently, by shrinking yourself to fit into rooms that mistake your humility for weakness. That is not what this recognition is about. That is not who you are. You are being honored for rising truthfully, for being authentic in your storms, for refusing to abandon your light just because others couldn't handle its brightness, for feeling everything deeply and still returning to love, not as an emotion that comes and goes, but as a choice that defines your character. You have no idea how rare that is in a world that teaches people to harden in response to hardship. There is a sacred kind of power in someone who can walk through fire without becoming what burned them. Someone who can witness cruelty clearly and still choose not to pass it forward. Someone who can experience betrayal and still believe in loyalty. Someone who can face rejection and still offer acceptance to others. That is the kind of strength no sermon can teach, no textbook can capture, no motivational speech can manufacture. And you, whether you realize it yet or not, are carrying that exact kind of power. You have taught God more about faith than most people ever will, because your faith didn't emerge from comfort or convenience. It was carved out of the in-between spaces, formed in the dark places where nothing made sense, forged in the furnace of uncertainty where hope felt like a foreign language. And still, you didn't give up on the story. The frame shifts now. The scene changes, because the blessings coming to you now feel different than anything you have experienced before. This isn't just your turn in some generic cosmic cycle where everyone eventually gets their moment. This is the precise moment when your truth finally starts to echo louder than your trials. You earned this season in silence, through late nights that no one knew about, when you wrestled with questions that had no easy answers, through acts of self-restraint that looked like defeat to people who never understood your discipline, through decisions that made no logical sense on paper but aligned perfectly with the compass of your spirit. So now, something shifts in the spiritual cinematography of your life. The lighting changes from harsh fluorescent to warm golden hour. The soundtrack swells from minor key to major, and the narrative arc you have been living begins to bend toward resolution. The light you have been cultivating in private starts to ripple outward like rings in still water. The peace you used to fight for begins to show up with less resistance, flowing more naturally, feeling more like home than foreign territory. And people begin to sense something around you that even they cannot quite explain or name. That is not coincidence. That is the fruit of a soul that refused to quit. But let me paint you a picture of what has been happening behind the scenes while you have been focused on simply surviving each day. In heaven's control room, your file has been moved from the processing department to the manifestation department. Angels who specialize in breakthrough have been reassigned to your case. The spiritual atmosphere over your life has been cleared of interference patterns that were blocking your progress. Your name has appeared on heaven's priority list. Not because you lobbied for position, not because you performed your way to the top, but because your character has been tested and proven reliable. You have demonstrated that you can be trusted with blessing without letting it corrupt your humility. You can handle favor without losing your compassion for those still struggling. Maybe you still feel unsure about receiving good things without some kind of suffering attached as a price tag. Maybe joy still feels foreign, like a language you used to speak fluently but forgot after too many years in survival mode. Maybe abundance feels suspicious because you have grown so accustomed to making do with less. That is okay. Your nervous system is learning to recalibrate from scarcity to sufficiency, from hypervigilance to peaceful alertness. It is a process like your eyes adjusting from darkness to light, but the adjustment is happening because even when you doubted yourself, God didn't doubt you. The divine knew exactly what it was doing when it placed that particular spirit in your body, when it gave you eyes that see deeper than surface appearances, a heart that feels beyond immediate circumstances, a voice that carries more weight and wisdom than you even realize. You are what healing looks like in motion. You are what integrity looks like in a world that rewards performance over authenticity. You are what it means to walk as a soul that remembers its divine source, even when the world around you seems to have collective amnesia about sacred things. And listen, it hasn't been easy. The most profound transformations rarely are. There were nights when sleep felt impossible, mornings when you didn't want to get up and try again, moments when everything in you wanted to retaliate, to give back the same energy you were receiving, to fight fire with fire. But instead you chose to release, to let go, to trust a process you couldn't see or understand. That version of you, that quiet warrior who chose love over logic, surrender over control, faith over fear, that is the version heaven celebrates the loudest. Not the perfect you that never existed, not the polished you that you think you should be, but the honest you who wrestled with real questions and stayed in the ring anyway. You don't need to earn a seat at the divine table anymore. You have already built your place there with your resilience, with your authentic love, with your choice to keep walking when you had every reason to sit down and refuse to take another step. Here is what I want you to understand about the season you are entering. It is not just about receiving blessings, though blessing will come. It is not just about doors opening, though doors will open. It is about stepping into a level of spiritual authority that you have been prepared for through every trial you have endured. Your voice is about to carry more weight. Your presence is about to bring more peace. Your influence is about to extend further than you ever imagined possible. Not because you have become perfect, but because you have become real. And in a world full of facades, authenticity has become the rarest and most powerful currency. Watch for these signs in the coming days. You will notice that your discernment has become laser sharp. People and situations that used to confuse you will feel crystal clear. Energy that doesn't align with your purpose will feel immediately obvious, and you will find yourself naturally stepping away without drama or explanation. Opportunities will begin presenting themselves with such perfect timing that even skeptics will notice the synchronicity. Phone calls you have been waiting for will come. Doors you thought were permanently closed will quietly swing open. Resources will flow from sources you hadn't even thought to consider. But beyond the external shifts, something deeper is happening. Your nervous system is being rewired for peace instead of survival. Your thought patterns are shifting from scarcity to abundance. Your default emotional setting is changing from anxiety to anticipation. You are not just getting breakthrough. You are becoming breakthrough for others who are still trapped in cycles you have already conquered. Let me share what others have experienced when they stood exactly where you are now. Carmen from Mexico City wrote to tell me that within a week of her spiritual shift, 3 different people reached out to apologize for situations that had happened years earlier. She said it felt like the universe was clearing her emotional slate, so she could step into her new season without carrying old baggage. Michael from Sydney reported that a business opportunity he had pitched and been rejected for 18 months earlier suddenly resurged. The company called to say their original choice hadn't worked out, and they wanted to move forward with his proposal at double the original terms. He said the timing was so perfect, it felt orchestrated by divine intelligence. Sarah from Toronto experienced what she called a miracle of multiplication. Money she had forgotten about in old accounts began surfacing. An insurance settlement she thought had been lost was processed. Refunds from various sources all arrived in the same week. She said it felt like the universe was returning everything that had been taken from her, with interest. These aren't isolated incidents. They are previews of the systematic restoration that heaven implements when someone has proven faithful in the wilderness seasons. But I want to prepare you for something important. When breakthrough comes to someone who has been tested as thoroughly as you have, it often feels gentle at first, almost anticlimactic. You might expect fireworks, but what you get is a deep, settling peace. You might expect dramatic gestures, but what you receive is sustainable alignment. This is because mature blessing doesn't need to announce itself with chaos or drama. It arrives quietly, confidently, permanently, like sunrise rather than lightning. Now, let me give you some specific guidance for the next 2 weeks. Not because you need to earn what is coming, but because alignment always amplifies blessing. First, every morning before you check your phone or speak to anyone, spend 5 minutes in gratitude for what is already shifting in your life, even if you cannot see the evidence yet. This aligns your frequency with receiving rather than hoping. Second, pay attention to the people who cross your path unexpectedly this week. That chance encounter at the coffee shop, the person who sits next to you on the bus, the colleague who suddenly starts a deeper conversation. Heaven often uses ordinary interactions to deliver extraordinary connections. Third, trust your first instinct about opportunities, relationships, and decisions. Your intuition has been sharpened by experience and refined by testing. The inner knowing you have developed is more reliable than the opinions of people who haven't walked your path. Fourth, create space in your schedule for unexpected blessings. Don't pack every moment so full that there is no room for divine surprises. Leave margin for the miraculous. Here is what I need you to understand about your divine assignment moving forward. You are not just receiving restoration for your own benefit. You are becoming a bridge for others to cross into their own breakthrough. Your victory becomes a pathway for someone else's freedom. Your healing becomes hope for someone else's wholeness. Your story is about to become proof that God still moves in impossible situations, that faithfulness in hidden seasons produces visible fruit, that character developed in darkness shines brightest in the light. This is why your testing was so thorough. Heaven needed to know that when the platform expanded, you would use it to lift others. When the resources multiplied, you would become a blessing and not just a recipient. When the influence increased, you would point people toward the source and not toward yourself. You are being prepared not just to receive a miracle, but to demonstrate that miracles are still available to those who remain faithful when no one is watching. The old narrative ends here, the story of struggle without purpose, of giving without receiving, of faithfulness without reward. That script has been terminated. A new screenplay is beginning, one where your character moves from supporting role to leading role, from background to foreground, from surviving to thriving. And it is not because you demanded it or manipulated circumstances to make it happen. It is because you remained true to your highest self when it would have been easier to compromise. You chose love when hate was justified. You extended grace when judgment was deserved. You built bridges when burning them down would have felt satisfying. As we close this divine encounter, I want you to feel the shift that has already taken place in the atmosphere around your life. Something has been recalibrated. Something has been activated. Something has been released that cannot be recalled or reversed. The frequency of struggle has been permanently altered. The pattern of delay has been interrupted. The cycle of almost but not quite has been completely shattered. From this moment forward, you will notice that life feels different, smoother, more synchronized, like you are finally dancing to music that matches your rhythm instead of trying to keep time to a beat that never felt quite right. Your breakthrough is not approaching, it is here. Your season has not started, it has already begun. Your time is not coming, it has arrived. I release over you divine acceleration in every area where you have waited with patience. I declare supernatural restoration of everything that was taken, stolen, or lost during your wilderness season. I speak divine alignment with opportunities that have been waiting for you to become ready to receive them. May favor surround you like dawn light, gentle but unmistakable. May divine connections find you even when you are not looking. May resources flow to you from sources you haven't even considered. May your yes be honored by heaven and your no be respected on earth. This is your moment, not because you demanded it, but because you proved worthy of it. Not because you manipulated circumstances, but because you surrendered to a process that was always designed for your benefit. God is proud of you, heaven is applauding, and your story is just beginning. If this message resonated with something deep in your spirit, like this video to release the angels assigned to your breakthrough, share it with someone who needs to know their season of recognition has arrived. Subscribe to continue walking through this breakthrough season together. Choose one of the videos on your screen that speaks to your heart, because this divine encounter is just the beginning of everything heaven has planned for your life. I will see you there, chosen one.